All right, in this movie we're going to talk about creating a more complicated rig using a couple of expressions. So I'm going to start by just doing a piece of type here. And then what we're going to do is add a camera. We're going to do 2-node camera, 15 millimeter. And then I'm going to also add a null object. All right, let's make sure the motion type and the null object are both in 3D space. And then we're going to add some expressions here. So the first one we're going to do is add, let's add a few. I'm just going to hit P for position on my null object. And then under the transform, we're going to open up the expression by doing an Alt or Option click on the point of interest. I'm just going to cut and paste these. And this is what we're going to copy. All right, it's giving me an error because the code I copied is asking for null 7, but we have a null 11. So we'll have to go and change that. All right, so that's our first thing. We're going to do our point of interest. So that's going to be where the camera focuses, and we're going to tie that to the position on the null. And then I'm going to, on the null, we're going to select that, and we're going to go to our effects presets and type in angle. That gives us an angle control. I'm just going to hit return and rename that to angle. And then over here on the slider, we're going to do a slider option here in effects and presets. I'm going to hit that twice. This first one we're going to call radius, and the other one we're just going to call Y. Okay, and so what these are going to do is give us control over the angle of motion. So we're going to be able to use this angle to rotate the camera around. The radius is going to give us the ability to move that camera closer or further away from our subject, and then the Y is going to give us the up and down. So I'm going to change this one view to that 3 so we can kind of see that. Okay, so with those effect controls set up, we're going to add expressions and parent those expressions to the effect controls we've got. So I'm going to open up my position by clicking Option or Alt click, and then what we're going to do is cut and paste all of this into there. And then I'm going to open this up a little bit. Change all those 7s to 11. And I missed one somewhere. Oh, it looks like there's part of the text I missed here. This first line. That's the thing with expressions, is you've got to be precise with them. So, okay, so once I get that in, and what we're doing here is, let me explain the expression a little bit. So what we're doing here is kind of creating our variables that get plugged in. So you can see that this right here and here So those variables basically are saying this control of the radius is going to be controlled by this slider, which is here, and this angle control is the angle control here. So that's kind of defining what variables and how they're controlled, which is here in our effects panel. And then this is explaining the numbers of how those numbers get translated to the motion, if that kind of gives you an idea. And so what it does is, if we zoom in here, you can see that the controller gives us some ability here. So this controls our radius, and you can see how smoothly that works. So we can rotate around our type, and then the slider gives us the radius of how close the camera is to our type, and then the Y slider gives us the movement up and down. So it's kind of like the pitch. So this is a little bit more advanced in terms of rig, and you can kind of see how this works. So I can give me a nice rotation. You can see that as I zoom in or out and up and down. So again, it makes it really simple just to animate some of those simple movements. So you could open up your effects and say, that's where I want to end up. So add keyframes on all of those. And then the angle, let's say you want to start there. And the slider, so you want to zoom in on that. And a little rotation. So it gives you some nice little movements that can be easily controlled with those settings. Let's see how that renders. Again, that's the power of rigs, and this is a little more complicated way of setting that up. But the rigs can give you a lot more control